So the world of business today is constantly on review. The constant need to innovate and expire is overall, it's an exhausting endeavor. Even a single instance of failure can lead to the downfall of some of the biggest companies around the world. But everyone is trying to survive by trying to make all the right decisions every single time. But it is inevitable. You'll meet failure more than once in your career. But research shows that with a simple reframe, you can leverage your failures on your journey to success. And everyone defines failure differently. Some see it as a true failure, this devastating experience, or that they only see it as a mistake. Now, others, on the other hand, they see it as a success or a significant learning experience. Now, those individuals that see it positively have shown that they end up bouncing back quicker. They make changes and redirect their life and typically adapt more easily. Those that are stuck on the negativity of failure tend to have lower self-esteem, lack of confidence, leaving in this cycle of depression that really breeds negativity and, again, future failures. Now, in the corporate world, companies have started to take on more risk than they used to, sometimes driven by their customers, but some by their own belief that significantly investing in proving an idea wrong early pays off in the long run. It only lets the best ideas through the overall wickets. Now, Google is a golden example with their Google X laboratory, which really chases they call moonshot ideas. Google X has created self-driving cars that have logged or driven more than 10 million miles on the road today. The Loon brand balloons, they provide internet access to some of the world's most remote places in South America and Africa. And Alphabet's brand Wing is its own individual drone delivery service, which provides delivery services to customers across Australia. So there's so many success stories, but is it actually worth it? Now, Alphabet isn't the first organization to set up a corporate lab for research and innovation. Xerox PARC, the Bell Laboratory, the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, all those have provided incredible breakthroughs in technology and innovation. But these large organizations eventually shift their minds towards quarterly results and ignore the most incredible ideas, sometimes within the confines of their own four walls that actually they're investing in. Now, if you remember Xerox PARC, the story of Steve Jobs, they actually invented the graphical user interface, but alas, Xerox computers are not widespread today. It's the inevitable battle between experimentation and process that comes with traditional corporate maturation. And as you mature, your goal is to become consistent in order to prevent surprises in the long run. So how can organizations strike a balance between consistency and surprise while not driving stakeholders and shareholders away? Now, research shows you must create a cultural movement first around embracing failure within your organization, not just the corporate research labs. Great news is there are many ways to create a cultural movement around embracing failure within your organization. Number one, we have to really start admitting that we experienced a failure. Now, across the board, there's a universal nature in human nature that goes to great lengths to hide any sort of failure that we come across or that we personally experience. People always have done that, and I think they'll continue to do that. Our default position really is to always downplay our weaknesses. For those who find growth in failure, begin by simply admitting its existence in their lives. And because we all experience it, we find a community or some sort of collective solace, knowing that we actually aren't alone in that environment. Number two is you have to evaluate your weaknesses. Now, Socrates once said, the unexamined life is not worth living. This holds true in both success and failure. And when we end up in failure, the wisest of us, they journey inward to determine the root cause and any sort of intentional steps we can take to best learn and even reframe that experience. And eventually, and hopefully over time, we can learn to champion our progress and that reframe with humility. The third component of that, I'd say, is that we need to grow through our pain. We live in a society extremely committed to avoiding pain at most costs. But being uncomfortable, has inherent value that a lot of people don't recognize or they don't necessarily want to endure. Now, while I would never encourage anybody to intentionally seek pain through failure, it will happen to you more than once. And when it actually does, it's going to be okay. And in fact, it will teach us things that you could never learn anywhere else. And the last bit is we need to share our stories with other people. This shift in expression might not happen right away because some failures actually take a lot longer to internalize and process than others. But eventually, I hope that you'll find your voice and find that opportunity to share your story with those around you. And when we do, we need to share with honesty and humility. And through our own personal arc and our own personal journey, we will discover an opportunity to provide hope, strength, and encouragement to others. Now, once you've started building up a culture of embracing failure, how can we personally start to document and share our failures with others to help us learn and teach others? Now, in mentorship sessions and other development activities, I'm not just a big fan of only having conversations with people. I like to allow them an opportunity to provide tangible products and artifacts to help them collectively put their ideas down and give them tools and resources to be able to leverage throughout their career. And so one of the things that's evolved in my mind through an extra graduate student at Caltech first came up with the idea and published in the Journal of Nature is something called a failure resume. It's like a traditional resume, but without all the successes and great things you've ended up doing. It shows all of the hard work that it took to get to that point, pretty much all your failures along the way. Now, this is a really powerful tool that will really open up your mind and tell you an incredible amount about yourself, but only if you're willing to reflect, listen, and learn, which research has shown are the most important prerequisites to success. A couple things a failure resume will tell you. It tells you the other side of the story. I can't tell you how many times people have come up to me and said, I really like your career arc and how you've done things. I really want your career. But what they don't see is all the things that have led up to that point, and all the path that I'm taking is not the most direct path. There's a lot of failures, a lot of reroutes, a lot of wiggles along the way in order to get maybe where I am today. So we mostly focus on the successes, but we tend to fail to document and reflect along those steps. And so we keep trying to achieve the next big goal, the next big success, without learning from what it took to get to the step we're currently on. A lot of times we see failure as another door closed, but what we found through the research says that when one door closes, another door opens. And basically what that means is saying that when you typically fail in a single area, it either opens up other opportunities or even opens up your aperture in your mind just a little bit more. And I think what people are starting to recognize through the pandemic and everywhere else is it actually helps you redirect and help you find your passions. It's going to help you reevaluate your priorities. Is this something that I really want to do? Is this something that I'm really passionate about and I really want to continue to pursue? And it's going to help you focus on finding what it is you actually love to do. It also helps you identify your weaknesses. We have to admit to ourselves that we aren't actually good at everything. And the failure resume can help us come to terms with that through the heuristics and the additional analysis of saying we keep failing in these specific areas. It's time to either educate or continue to build up skills in a particular area if we want to continue to grow in that domain. And then the last piece is that it tends to send the right message. It encourages other people to try to fail, to try to fail and try again until they eventually. Now, the important part of this is that you can start a cultural revolution by taking one of those most platonic hiring tools ever created and really reframe its purpose. All the blood, the sweat, the tears, the many long hours, and all the stress and anxiety it took must pay off in the long run, right? We fight because we have hope. We fight because we want to be first, and we fight because we love what we do. It turns out the corporate research labs aren't necessarily the problem. It's simply the way we've been conditioned to perceive what success looks like and how to actually achieve it. If we reframe success by looking at the growth we have from our failures, instead of vying for overnight success, we just maybe can formulate a different narrative for our own organizations.